turkey hunting.
Turkey hunting it is.
You're going like what? It opens up in a little bit, doesn't it? Like,
well, it opens tomorrow.
Days? Yeah, tomorrow.
Period A opens tomorrow.
Okay.
And couldn't be a more pleasant day weather-wise.
All right, we're live, so let's get the intro going and all that jazz.
Where to Hunt podcast. It's okay. It's okay.
Hi, I'm Dan Small, host of Outdoor Wisconsin, and I listen to Where to Hunt.
Nah, it's okay.
I'm Kurt Geyer with Working Class Bow Hunter. I listen to Where to Hunt podcast, and it's decent.
It's all right.
Hey, this is Bud Fisher.
That's Bow Hunter.
I listen to Where to Hunt podcast. It's all right.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Where to Hunt podcast, the podcast that connects public land hunting enthusiasts. Today is... Well, it's April 20th, which is awkward. This is episode 179.
Were you 420 in it in here before I got here?
I wasn't. Oh, man. But I was like, wait a second. It's 420. Happy 420 for those of the folks that listen that, make that a holiday in their life. I know we got listeners of all types and kinds all over the country. So to each his own.
Hey, everybody's got to march to the beat of their own drum.
That's right. Or, puff their own magic dragon, whatever
That's
it is.
Right.
Anyway, we're happy to be here today. And let's see. We got some as well roll real quick before we get into the meat of what we're talking about today. So let's run. Which one we got? This one.
Whether you're at work, in a tree stand, or simply waking up, it's important to be alert. There's no better way to get there than with Backwoods Grind Coffee. Ground fresh for every order, delivered straight to your door. Backwoods Grind Coffee.
All right. So, shout out to Drop Time Spirits. Cheers to that. You got a beer. I got some spirits. You got to drink after a cheers, Greg. That's how it works. Or some people say Prost. Is that a thing?
If you're German, yeah.
Prost with a peanut.
Prost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that one German song? Fly, fly, fly. Do 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 do. Do you know that one? My daughter loves that one.
Okay.
It's like a really weird German song. It's anyone that's heard that one, maybe they'll message in or tell me what the hell it's called. And by the way, we're coming at you from the OK Hunter podcast studio. As you can tell, we don't know what the hell we're talking about today. So, we're okay. We set the bar low so we can under-deliver. Under-promise and under-deliver. There's no over-delivering here. That's not like a thing that we do. But if you want to save some money on some OKS Hunter swag, they have new shirts and stickers and all sorts of stuff that comes out periodically. They have a decent blog, all that good stuff. But you can enter in code W2H Podcast for 10% off. We see that getting redeemed every now and again. So that's good to know that you guys are using it. But if you want to save some real money on a product, you would want to use the code W2H for Spartan Forge. Head over to SpartanForge.ai. Check out what they have going on. Massive updates coming down the pike. Incredible product. Tons of development going into it each and every week and every single day. It's a deer movement predictability application that's uniquely one of a kind. So if you haven't heard about it yet, you're living under a rock.
It'll be nice to be able to ditch the Weather Underground app and maybe a few other things.
Windy can go away.
Yeah,
me,
Windy Tide can go away. All that stuff can go away. You can bring it into one app, and I think there's going to be some other really cool features with that app to possibly get rid of some other things, which is really nice.
It's going to be pretty flippin' awesome.
Nothing like simplifying life a little bit.
That's right. Keep it simple, stupid. So I'm just changing up this thing here real quick. Yeah, that'll work. We did have a guest lined up, but I don't know if we crossed a wire or mixed up some sort of timing thing or what have you. I'm not sure what we did or didn't do, but nonetheless, it's just Greg and I tonight. Unless they decide to show up, maybe different time zones get wonky, so I know that can cause issues. Who knows? Or people have things that come up. I mean, this is a hunting podcast in the off season right now, so I can't imagine or blame anybody if they, forget or
maybe he had a child emergency. We don't know.
We just don't know. We don't know yet. We'll find out later, and we'll see what we can do to bring them back on because they're a pretty cool guest.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to have.
Definitely looking forward to it. I'm going to share a link in the bio for those that are watching. If you want to jump in via video, you can. You can also call into the show. The call-in line and video chat is brought to you by Spartan Forge. Because they're so high tech, we figured we'd use some of their sponsorship dollars to pay for some of our high tech. You know, there's not a lot of folks doing this live streaming stuff the way we're doing it with the live call-in number and live video chat. And maybe we're, I don't want to say braver than others, stupider. It's probably the word that comes to mind.
We'd like to gamble a little more.
Yeah, don't prank us. We'll put you on the registered sex offender list if you prank us. At least that's what Kurt Geyer said at one time.
That's the thing to do.
Mm-hmm. That worked. So I think what we're going to do instead, since our guest isn't here, we had a pretty neat conversation lined up, but we're going to talk a little bit more about turkey hunting since that's relevant. We're here in Wisconsin. I'm getting some messages now. Go figure. So let's just stand by for a sec. But I'm going to keep talking, but I'm a little distracted.
Okay.
So maybe while I distract myself with this, maybe let me know what you're doing for turkey season for the moment. Like when I know it's different season issues that you're going to get.
So here in Wisconsin, we have a spring turkey season and a fall turkey season. Spring they break it down into what the DNR calls periods. So there's 6 periods, A through F. It starts tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow is opening day for period A, and we have 7 days to fill a tag, and then it goes on to the next period. So I'm period B, and then I got a tag for period F, which is at the very end of May, going into June.
So you have 2 periods.
Yep.
Which one do you think is the best one?
What I've noticed, and this is just because I've been buying leftover tags the past 2 years, it seems like there's less pressure towards the end of the season, of the spring season, and the birds aren't as henned up, so they're a bit more willing to come to calls and maybe at least investigate things a little more, because at that point it's kind of like the end of the rut. You know, it's pickup breeding time at that point, and those birds will respond to calls a little better. They might hang up a little more, but at least I think your chances are better of calling them off or getting them over to you, especially if they're cruising around looking for hens.
So a little bit more engaged.
They're more willing to respond, but they may not fully commit. So that's where I've not had any luck doing it, but reaping is kind of a big deal.
What's that mean?
Reaping, you're hiding behind a decoy. That bird sees the decoy and you're creeping in on the bird.
Why is it called reaping?
Because you pretty much get right in their face and drop and shoot them in the face.
So you're like a reaper.
Yeah, something like that.
Interesting. I didn't know there's like a term for that.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. A lot of guys are pretty successful with it. I have not been successful with it. I don't know if I'm moving too fast, or I just have a bird that's non-committal or has enough hens. Or
But you've tried it?
I've tried it.
And did you have any luck or just not enough luck?
I couldn't get close enough. It's like the bird just said, "Nah, I'm good. I don't feel like fighting today. I'll move off." I've had much better luck calling and getting birds to commit to a call and a hen decoy and a strutter. And the strutter, if I have it strategically placed in the right area, they'll come right to it.
That's kind of cool.
But it seems later in the year I have better luck with that.
Yeah. And I don't know how much you know about other states, but I've been seeing birds hit the ground all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm seeing pictures everywhere. So I don't know what
southern
other state structures are like, but ours seems to be, maybe we're a little bit later than some
Sure.
others.
Yeah, the southern states like Florida, when I was down there for vacation, a few weeks ago, they had been turkey hunting already. Alabama, I rolled through there. They were just starting. Tennessee, Georgia. I mean, if you follow the hunting public, you'll know.
It's a good point.
What's going on at what time. But all those states, they get an early start. I mean, they're greener than we are. I mean, shoot, 3 weeks ago, there was green all over trees down there already.
Yeah.
And we're just starting to see some green hit their, come up on our trees. A lot of the underbrush is greened up already.
We're seeing on some snow today too, apparently.
Yeah. Apparently,
the heck.
Mother Nature decided to pitch an attitude, and we have snow instead of rain or warmer temperatures, for that matter.
Well, there's a lot of things to talk about turkey hunting, but I'm not the expert because I've literally never done it, and I've only ever learned about it through this
I'm just
podcast.
okay at it. So
Yeah, last year you forgot your boots or something, right?
yeah, well, that's typical when you wake up late. Well, and I think it was going on season 2. Season 1, I went out, got rained on, missed a bird, screwed up 2 other stalks on birds, 3 other stalks on birds. Just couldn't make it happen. Took a week break, came back, and then more work stuff happened. So it was kind of tough, but I knew the area pretty well. And then got up late, I think, just because it was raining hard already in the morning. And you know how it is. You get up in the morning,
when it's overcast like that, you just sleep longer. Like, what the heck?
Yeah. Nah, I better get out there because I know birds move in the rain. They always do.
Mhm.
Sometimes they move better. You just don't hear them. You don't hear them doing their thing. And it's pretty hard to hear them gobble. But if you get lightning and thunder, not the best thing to be out there hunting in lightning, but thunder will get them to shock gobble. They'll tee off at thunder. So it's pretty neat to hear that. But yeah, I ran out in a hurry, had everything I needed but my boots. Ran out there in tennis shoes, proceeded to get soaked to the bone. Was thinking about calling it quits, and that's it looks like our guest.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute myself. Go ahead.
But yeah, I made it happen.
Hey, Colin, you good to go still, do you think? Oh, yeah, sorry. So, we're live right now if you want to jump in, if you can. So that's my fault. Then I'll have to look back at that. I apologize. We're going to, hop on in, man. Quick link we'll bring in and we'll roll with it.
Technical difficulties.
It is, yeah. It's video, so you can do it from your phone or computer, whatever you're comfortable with. Yeah, we'll be here. I'll just buzz you in once you pop in there. We'll see you in the stage, and I'll bring in.
So here we go. We're gonna have a guest after all. You don't have to listen to me.
No,
Check.
I like to listen to you, man. I like this stuff, and I think I must have set the wrong time, which isn't a big shocker. So this is interesting. It is the right time, but I don't know if it converted the time zone. It usually will just give them their version of the time zone. He's seeing it different than that, so that's interesting. I don't know if it's like something I need to figure out in the future. So I'll just chop this part
You're
out.
gonna have to put Central Standard Time on everything that you label now.
I'm gonna have to, apparently. Yeah. Interesting.
Can't rely on technology every time.
Change my title. So the folks that are with us here, stand by. It's gonna get cool.
Or ugly.
Yeah.
But anyway, I killed a bird in my tennis shoes.
See, that's what I thought. I
So I
remember
checked that off the list.
That's right. Tennis shoe bird.
Tennis shoe
What
bird.
did you do with the bird? What did you eat it, or do you?
Oh, yeah.
Do you ever mount a turkey? You have to be really big to
I
do that?
saved the fan, so I picked up a really awesome strutting Jake decoy, and the bird I shot was just under 22 pounds last year with like a 9.5-inch beard. So I saved the spurs, or I saved the beard and the fan, and I'm putting that on my strutting Jake decoy.
Okay.
So we'll see how that works this year.
What's the thing that Chansey did for you? That sketch.
That feather painting, that was of my dog. He did that. So people will take the tail feathers and do painting. So our buddy Derek Melkor also does that.
Really?
Mhm.
I know he did some art. He's an art teacher, but I don't know if he did that.
No, he's quite good at it.
Interesting. All right, I'm gonna update this here. How you doing, Colin?
Hey, good, Eric. How are you?
Good. Sorry for the mix-up. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was. That invite said 7:50 to 8. I thought, I didn't know. Maybe it was my mistake.
You're the guest, and you are right. And I totally probably effed up on that.
I've got a wife.
But
No, the guest is always right.
I
How
think
y'all doing?
Google translated or
Good.
something. I don't know. Greg was just saying you need to put CST on every one of those invites. I'm like, yeah, I think you're right, because I don't think this is the first time that's happened. But sorry to put you in a panic on your end. I was like, oh no.
No, man, not at all. I've been running a little mini excavator.
Oh, really?
Sounds
Trying
like
to
fun.
grade my yard with the pool guy's equipment that he left here.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah,
I feel
well, I love talking deer, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll just so we're already recording. We're already live.
Cool.
We're broadcasting. So you missed all our stupid intro stuff that we do. So you lucked out there. Just so you know, we call this the OKS podcast in the Midwest. We're in the OKS Hunter podcast studio. So we set the bar low. As you can tell, we're off to a great start.
Well, that's why you brought me on to bring it even lower.
No, you're the pro. We're amateur hour over here.
Yeah, but no, so obviously, David with Drop Time introduced us, and he said you're a mammoth of a man. That you were an NFL player for the Niners, and then the Panthers, and most importantly, you're a whitetail addict. And it sounds like you have some property in Illinois, and you're in South Carolina and from Texas. So, like, I'm just doing that to give the audience a baseline of who you are. If you want to kind of introduce yourself, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I grew up in a small town about an hour northwest of the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas. Grew up out in the middle of nowhere, so I've been hunting whatever I could find since I was little, and I'm trying to raise my kids the same way. We live in Charlotte, but actually just got back from our place in Illinois. Spent the weekend there. I love the development and redevelopment side of whitetail habitat, and so I'm putting in a pretty extensive management plan up there on my property, and I went up there and burned some brush this past weekend, and I didn't even make it out to turkey hunt, but yeah. So I played college football at TCU, honestly, so I could stay close enough to my parents to hunt on the off days, and from there I got drafted by the Niners, spent a year out there, and then I was with the Panthers for 8, and this last year was my my first season that I didn't play ball, and I was actually on an elk hunt in New Mexico when Tampa called me, and so I had to make a choice then. Did I want to go and try to make it one more year or not? And I decided to not. And then when they made it to the NFC Championship game, I texted my agent and told them to rethink that, and were they still looking? Not really. They moved on for that fast after that, but no, it was a fun journey in the NFL. I have a very great wife who always let me go different places on our bye week to hunt deer. That's the downside with football, because deer season coincides with football season, and we just have a very limited schedule. But yeah, I hopped around Texas. They've got that late season MLDP program. It's really hard to find some free range stuff, but I've found a couple of guys down in South Texas where you can hunt into February, and then hopped around to Kansas, Illinois. I've been applying to Iowa. I'll have 4 preference points after this year, but yeah, I love to deer hunt, and it's a big passion of mine, and I love everything about it. Big bow hunter, but I love to pick up the cheater pipe every once in a while as well.
Cheater pipe, nice. What do you shoot for a bow?
I've got a Matthews VXR right now.
Cool.
And yeah, it had a good season last year. I love that bow. Very forgiving, and I spent a lot of time shooting. I really enjoy it. I'm in the middle of changing releases right now.
Are you going to one of those releases, or what do you?
No, I've always gone the index release, and I have shot a B3 King last year, but I shot it so much that it almost started seizing up on me, and I ended up getting another one, and I'm just real particular about it, and I finally got it broken in a little bit, and it lasted through the season. But then I've shot a Carter-like mic a little bit this off season, messing around, and then what's another one I shot? True Fire, one of the True Fires. Just messing around till I find something that works perfect for me. But there's so many good products out there; it's hard to go wrong, honestly.
Yeah. Comfort's a big deal for me. If I'm not comfortable, then I'm not confident.
That's how I am.
Carter makes a good release.
Yeah, it's the trigger. I mean, it feels great. It's a little heavier trigger than I'm used to, which I don't know that's all bad. I think it's just getting used to it.
Right.
But it really, I think, helps technique wise to really, instead of jerk, just a gentle pull with the whole elbow. But
Right.
what about y'all, Eric? Greg, what's your
Yeah, I'll tell you, Greg's trying to get me to get a new bow. Like, I don't know why he's so concerned about my bow, but
I'm concerned about what could happen to you if you don't replace the bow or at least put new strings on that old thing.
yeah,
But,
I don't know.
If it's working for you, I'm not here to force you to do anything you don't want to do.
It's comfortable. I don't want to change it. I like it. And, I killed my first bow buck this past season on public land. So I'm like, well,
nice?
I'm the problem, not the bow. Like, I got to get in front of more deer before I get a new bow. That's my thought. So
We took care of that.
it, but
You had opportunities. So, all right.
Yeah.
I had a buddy that thought similarly, but then he shot the VXR and actually he just bought the V3. But
Okay.
That V3 is pretty badass.
well, I mean, there's so much the technology and just the stability, and it really does make a lot of difference. It's kind of like a mid handicapper in golf using like game improvement irons or using blades. I mean, it's just if you can find something that kind of helps maximize your ability, it really goes a long ways. And until you shoot something else, you don't really know what you're missing.
Right. And that longer riser is really what helps that bow a ton. It feels more like a target bow with that longer riser.
What kind of draw length are y'all?
I'm a 29-inch draw length. I'm shooting the grandfather to both of your bows, the Halon 32. So it's new generation.
Bow.
It is a good bow. I
Yeah.
don't have a reason to change it. I put a new string on it. I took 2 deer with it last year, and I don't know. It's been a good killing bow for me. I'm comfortable with it. It's heavy. It's a little front heavy, top heavy. But if I spend some money on some decent stabilizers, I could probably take care of that problem. But most of my shots, to be quite honest with you, are 25 yards and in.
Right.
Yeah, don't ask me any technical questions. I don't have the answers. I'm the worst.
You're about the same draw length I am, about 29 inches. So, and then
I'm shooting. So it's an old bow. It seems old. It seems new because I came out of a really old bow. I used to shoot what my dad handed down to me, which is a Dart and Viper, which is like their old dual cam.
Mm-hmm.
Which he killed plenty of deer with. And so I got that thing and I was like, oh, this thing's great. This is awesome. And then I shot a Bear Empire that my buddy wanted to get off his hands. So I picked that up from him for cheap, fully outfitted through the HHA single pin sight on there. And then we just upgraded single pin sights to the newer ones that they have.
Yeah.
And so I like it quite a bit. I think it's a really quiet bow. And our friends over at Vector Custom Shop, they make thick-walled micro diameter arrows.
Yep.
Their whole thing when we had them on our show, they talked about you're never going to shoot faster than the speed of sound. So like having the fastest bow in the world, you can only do so much. So mine, I think, is quieter than most, if you ask me.
Well, I'm with you on that. I think too much speed. So last year I was shooting. I've got a 29.5-inch draw, and I was shooting 77 pounds, and I was shooting a 525 grain arrow at about 280 feet per second. So killer kinetic energy. And that big reason was that elk hunt I went on. And it was a micro diameter by Carbon Express, really expensive arrow, but I loved it. And then I went to a lighter arrow this past fall or this past winter, and I'm shooting 435 grains now, and it bumped me up to 318 feet per second. And honestly, it's kind of like a major league closer throwing 90, 95 plus. Any little error you have it's just, you get so much movement on the arrow.
Yep.
It's just not technically sound. So I agree with you. Too much. You can have too much speed for sure.
Well, and two, when you lighten up the arrow, you lighten up the spine most of the time. And when you lighten up the spine, it flexes off that riser a lot different.
Yeah.
Than your heavier arrow. And I played around, and mine is more on the extreme side. I'm over 600 grains.
Are you?
On a 300 spine arrow. Slow, yeah. How fast it is, don't know. Never ran it through a chronograph, but the deer I hit were pretty wicked pass-throughs, and I watched them die within sight. They went 40 yards at the very most and keeled over. They were done. So I also shoot a pretty sharp broadhead. I think that has a lot to do with it too. You know, and this is something that starts argument all over for.
Yeah, are we going down the broadhead rabbit hole? Or what
No, we're not. We're not doing it, man.
what time we got? 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we're gonna need till 10 o'clock.
We've
No.
had the Ranch Fury on a couple of times, and Troy Fowler, and he talks about a lot of what Dr. Ashby talks about. And so, Greg, I think I just do whatever Greg does.
No, he doesn't do what I do. He
I
shouldn't
try
do what I
to.
do.
I try to.
Don't do what I do.
I am like the actual case hunter. I make everything way more difficult than it needs to be. So if you ever want to know what not to do, just look at me, and then you can look at Greg, and he's probably a little more correct on how he's doing things. But Greg's a technical.
I shot a ton of. I shot 5 different fixed broadheads getting ready for that elk hunt.
Yeah.
And because they told me they didn't want me using an expandable,
Mm-hmm.
and I typically hunt with a Rage no collar,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had a lot of success with whitetails. And I got out there, and they told me you're okay to hunt with that, and so I took it all those fixed and just. But I know that Muzzy Trocar flies extremely well at long range.
Yep.
That's a very reasonably priced broadhead.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
there's so many
on
options.
what
It's
he's
just,
doing.
I mean, it's. I was actually working with Fairdyne Outdoors last year, so I had a hookup there, so it was a little easier for me to use Muzzy and Rage. But
now Muzzies have been a proven head for a long time.
mm-hmm.
I've shot similar heads, never a Muzzy brand per se, but I've shot a couple of them that were very similar and had great success with them.
Yeah, the one I killed this season, I used the QAD fixed blade. I was gonna get the Iron Will, and I just couldn't justify dropping the coin just yet on that. So then I was gonna go with the Magnum.
Magnus.
Yeah,
You couldn't even get Magnus.
I couldn't find anywhere there because the ranchery talked about them. It put such a demand on their product. It's a mom and pop shop, so they couldn't really keep up with a lot of the demand. So it was like a big back order. I was like, well, I need these now. I need broadheads now. So I went to my local archery shop, and they're like, these are really good. You can use these.
Yep.
And it killed a deer for me. It was sharp enough to do the job. So
yeah.
Yeah.
As far as the hunting side of things, what's your favorite style, and like what
we're
really gets
public
you?
land guys. We, not because we're against private land. I just don't have any property to go hunt. So I grew up, my dad, before public land hunting was ever like considered cool or the thing to do or whatever is going on with the movement now, which I think is great, by the way. We always just hunted wherever we could go. And at the time that was northern Wisconsin, the Nicolet National Forest. And then when I got a little bit older and he got me into bow hunting, I'm like, I'm not driving 4 or 5 hours up north. I want to go hunt like today after work if I can. So this is before OnX really kind of changed things. And so I created, this is how Word Hunt got started. I created a forum to ask people like, hey, where can I go around here? So that's kind of my style is the ground and pound, hang and bang, whatever you want to call it, but really mobile setup. And it's because we're on public land. So no two hunts are really ever the same for that reason. Your spot isn't sacred. You don't have a spot. It's anybody's spot, given the day you're showing up. So
yeah,
I don't know, Greg's, I think you're pretty similar to me to some degree with.
Yeah, I mean, I'd done the lease game for a little while, and if you don't make it to your lease, somebody else makes it to your lease and decides it looks like a good place and nobody's hunting here, so I'm going to be here. So I quit doing that after several arguments with people trespassing, and did more public land. I mean, I've done it here and there all my hunting life, since a kid on. So we would go behind the house on the lease land on the farm and hunt, as a kid. And then after we moved away from that spot, or during gun season, we would go up by my uncle's place 5 hours north and hunt the north woods of Wisconsin with the timber wolves and with the black bears. So it was a lot of public land and private at the beginning. And now I don't have fundage to go and throw at a lease or the ability to go buy a big hunk of property without going into major debt. So I'm mostly public, and I have no problem finding deer to hunt.
Yeah.
Bow season's probably one of my favorites for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But I won't turn down the opportunity to go pick up my rifle and go chase deer either.
Right. Absolutely.
And Kyle, how about you? So you're in is it South Carolina? Is that where you're at?
Well, I live in North Carolina, but I I actually had a lease in South Carolina, and then actually just hunt my buddy's place down there.
Perfect.
And then I hunt mainly in the Midwest, and then I'll hunt in South Texas as well. 3 completely different styles of hunting.
I would say.
And so typically Kansas, the Manhattan area in Kansas I hunt is low deer density. And those are some long days. You're not going to see much, but when you do, you're going to see some big deer. And I was lucky enough to get a pretty good deer out there this year. And that was when I really saw what that no collar could do with a heavy arrow, because I shot real close shot, about 20 yards, but walking away, and I stopped him and just put it off the hip, and it literally ate the whole arrow. And so that was pretty cool. And then most of my stuff is on my land in Illinois. I really enjoy the whole ability to watch a deer, pass a deer, even lose a deer, and then come back in 2 years, sheds, really follow and see what you can do if you get neighbors on the same page and really work at getting buck to doe ratio in check, and really work on a food program. And the difficulty of bow hunting in the Midwest is what I really enjoy too, because there's no baiting in Illinois, and it's really a challenge to get a Boone and Crockett deer in bow range. And I've had times, my buddy that pretty much taught me everything I know about it, Doug Benefield, owns the Illinois Connection, and he had a phenomenal season last year. They killed a 230.
Jeez.
But he really taught me the patience. And I mean, I sat with him in a redneck one night, and we had 3 deer over 160, and one of them at 25 yards, and I just had to watch. And that was kind of like, whew. And at that point, I'd never shot anything close to that size of deer. But the age structure, seeing those deer now, it's incredible what he's got. I was able to take one of them this year, and but I just really enjoy the challenge. I think it correlates with football and the process, and it really is a challenge of spending time shooting a lot in the yard and then taking that to the actual hunt and getting it done. And it's just so rewarding. And it's not really about, I do love that part of it, but I really enjoy hunting and trying to outsmart the deer and getting it done. And those mature deer are smart. This past year was the first time I was able to hunt on a normal season. Typically, it's either 1 week during a bye week or late season if we aren't deep in the playoffs in January. And January in the Midwest is brutal, as y'all know, with weather and then the pressure the deer have had and just the whole gamut. But this year I actually got to spend some time and dig in a little bit and be patient and have some different setups and hunt in October a little bit when they're still bachelored up, and then come back later and right before Thanksgiving, and just the whole rut experience was really fun. But yeah, hands down, Texas is a unique experience as well too. There's a ton of different animals and all kinds of stuff walking around the woods of South Texas. But
yeah, you get a lot of exotics that were transplanted there, and now they're kind of just roaming free.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they brought them in, those Gemsbuck, some people call them oryx. They brought them in Africa in the 50s out into New Mexico in the White Missile Range, and then they just exploded because their climate's real similar to Africa, and they've just spread all through Texas, and then all kinds of axis deer, all kinds of exotics down there with the floods knocking those high fences down. They're free range out there. A lot of game, really pretty country too in the hill country, and there's some big deer, very different size wise. When I first got to the Midwest, it was hard for me to field judge a deer, because in Texas, that's a Texas deer behind me. It's not even a big deer, but it looks big because it's all rack and no body. But you go to the Midwest, and I'm sure I passed deer when I first started that were really good deer, mature big deer that didn't even look big because it's a 300-pound deer with a rack that just doesn't look as extreme. But just a learning curve. Hunting is just so fun to me because you learn something every time you go. You can be the best hunter in the world, and you're gonna learn something. You're gonna screw something up, and
that's the part that makes it addicting to me, because your knowledge compounds. So you think, oh, this is the year because I learned 10 new things last year. And you get out there and you're at this new caliber, this new level, and suddenly you're at a different, the level has gotten harder too. Like the further up you go, the more you learn, but the harder it seems to kind of get. So you're like, man, you're playing chess, and the mental game of trying to figure that out and make these strategic moves. Like in theory, this should work, but you get your boots on the ground and it's totally different. It's like you see the world through an airplane. It looks, oh, that's no big deal. But then you get down into it and it's like, how do you move through this stuff?
Right.
Get close to them without giving it away. And so you got to like play the wind and all of these things. That's the hook for me.
That's the hook for sure.
It's ridiculous.
And too, like setting up a new property that I'm doing this year, I'm going to spend so much time putting forage soybeans in a certain area and doing clover and turnips and corn and all kinds of working on getting CRP established. But I will have it so wrong after this year. And I'll be watching deer from 150 yards just thinking, why didn't I put the stand there? But it's just the learning process of
you got to start someplace. Yeah.
Well, and exactly. And when you implement a food source on a piece of property that's never had it, it's going to change the whole dynamic of how they use it. The trail systems are going to change, the bedding, how they move throughout the property. Yeah. Greg, I'm disappointed. No drop time. What are you doing? Nursing a beer over there?
Yes.
I didn't nurse it. It's gone.
Here, Greg, you want to drink out of the bottle or what?
I don't think it would taste good, but here.
Dave would be proud.
Oh, boy.
Dave, he said he's going to tune in. I don't know if he's in or not. I don't know who's watching. I know people are watching, but until he comments, I won't know it's him. So, yeah, by the way, like, are you in a position to talk a little bit about some of the stuff you do for Field Ethos? Because
yeah, absolutely. So
that's an exciting thing. So that's a fun thing to talk about.
Very exciting. So when I was playing ball, I was really looking for a way to get into the outdoor industry. And Jason Vincent, the founder of Field Ethos, along with Donald Trump Jr., I met him through one of the guys that worked for the Panthers. I was looking to build a custom rifle, and he hooked me up with Jason. And Jason is just an incredible source of knowledge, especially the whole outdoors, but especially on the shooting side of things. If it's a gun, he knows it and knows a lot about it. And so I ended up using long rifles and built a 7 ROM with Jason. And then from there, our friendship took us to Africa. Went there with Luke Kuechly and my parents and his family, and great family trip with Jason over there. Really enjoyed that. And then I still kept playing ball, stayed in touch with Jason, and really looking for a way to get involved in what it would look like to be in the outdoor industry for a career post football. And Field Ethos just really offered that opportunity for me because there's so much of the same content out there. And I really wanted to find a way to be able to voice a real perspective and how I really see what matters to me, and that unfiltered approach that tells the audience, how we really do it and we live by it. It's not where we're just promoting a bunch of products we don't use, or anything we promote we're using, and it's just allowing the audience to be the storyteller as well. It's just the concept's great. And bringing Dave on really gave us direction too, because of his vast knowledge in the industry. And it's really, I'm so excited to see where it goes. We've got a lot of stuff in the works right now, and I can't wait to unveil some of the stuff. But it's really going to be fun to be a part of a fun team, and I think it's going to be about as close as I can get to an NFL locker room, guys that I really have a lot in common with, and really just enjoy just hanging out. Great family guys, because I really value my family as well, and just really being able to get in the outdoors and showcase what we love about them.
Yeah, you're
thing too. We have a lot of different interests within the outdoors. I'm a huge whitetail guy, and that's a lot of America. And Jason's really big in Africa and long range shooting and guns in general. And Don on the adventure side and some of the incredible hunts he's been on. And when I first met Don, he just blew me away with his knowledge, his woodsmanship, and his his ability to hunt. I mean, and fish. He's a great outdoorsman, and a lot of high profile people just get thrown out there because who they are, and he really lives it, and he's just that's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, where do you think that, if you can, where do you think that came from for him, growing up the way that he did? Did he get into that as a child along the way, or was that more of like an adult onset kind of thing that he sought after? Or
Yeah, I don't really know. I haven't gotten that deep into discussion with him, but I do think he got introduced at a fairly young age and really took a liking to the outdoors.
it's an interesting thing. You pay attention to different things in life, and oddly enough, I'm reading a book about stillness. And it talks about cleansing yourself in nature, so to speak. That if we cleanse ourselves as much as we took a shower, if we just spent an hour or two a day in the woods, we'd all probably be a lot happier. It's very therapeutic. It's a great place to spend time outdoors. I think I'm a lot happier during whitetail season, not only because I'm pursuing deer and I love that, right? That side of it. The time of year is great. There's a lot of benefit there, football season, right? Those of us that are viewers nowhere near in the kind of shape you're in. But that additionally, you're actually spending time in nature, and you're being still. You're sitting there waiting and letting the world stop passing you by for a second. You're actually consuming it.
I mean, that's an extremely valuable point, and I witnessed this last weekend with my wife. She's not a huge outdoors woman, but she loves just being outside, and we went and looked at. There's just something for everybody being out there. We found a bunch of fossils in the creek, and just being outside. It's so peaceful. And we made the comment. I mean, how good for you is this right now? Just hanging out. I mean, I didn't even have my phone for 3 days. Getting away from it a little bit and really just relaxing. I don't know how recharged with my 4-year-old and 1-year-old I got, but sleeping in the same room. But yeah, it's so valuable, and I really think that COVID has changed that a little bit for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people just in Charlotte here, people outside walking and just getting outside, and I really hope that culturally we're able to grasp this and continue down that path as we get through this whole pandemic.
Yeah, COVID definitely brought more awareness to the outdoors. I mean, you go down any big box store through their sporting goods section, and the fishing section's cleaned out.
Yeah.
I've got a buddy that owns a bait shop here locally, and he does really well. He had some struggles keeping some gear in, but he was able to get back in the game and keep the right amount of stuff on the shelf to keep customers happy. But it's funny, there's a big, well-known chain big box store right down the road from him. They didn't have squat on the shelf, but he had stuff, and he's competitively priced with them. So it was great to see a small business do well through this. But even our lakes too, like I've never seen the lake down the street from my house so full of people ever. This summer it was ridiculous.
Everything was up. I mean, the amount of hikers.
Yeah,
it's the first time the hunting season or the hunting industry has seen growth.
Yeah,
in
I've found more trash in the woods than I normally find, just from people walking and leaving junk lay.
Yes, that's
good luck getting ammo. I mean, it's just,
that's another problem. I don't target practice because of that.
Grab the bow and just don't miss.
Yep. Well, that's just it. I've got 20 yards in my basement, so I'm shooting all the time in my basement.
Yeah, there's a real value to shooting close. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah.
Well, I just set up a target or a range in my basement because we're building a new studio in our basement, mainly because I'm getting displaced with we're expecting our third child. So I got a 3.5-year-old, a 1.5-year-old, and our third's on the way. So this room is going to be a baby room in a couple months. So we're framing that out now. But as a result of cleaning everything, I now have some shooting space in the basement, which here in Wisconsin, with it being so damn cold in the winter, it's really nice to have. Not to mention, I think my neighbors look at me funny anyway, so that'll make my wife feel a little less embarrassed about whatever we're doing.
Yeah, my neighbors had a Biden sign in their yard, but they still returned some arrows I slung into their yard. So
they're afraid.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want these back? Don't shoot us. That's
No, they were very understanding of my passion.
That's good. Yeah, I would last year. I missed a buck last year. So after that, I thought it was because I had misranged it and I didn't. So then I was like, what the hell happened here? This is probably a bend at the hip kind of problem. So I hung a stand in my backyard and started shooting. And my I was like, I can't believe you're doing this in our backyard. I'm like, yeah, whatever. This is Wisconsin. It's tradition here. Everyone knows a hunter. Someone in the family hunts something. So
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if you're not missing, you're not hunting. I've had
good point.
I've had a few mishaps myself. I remember in Texas 2 years ago, I was on a late season hunt and I had a nice 10 point, and it was about 38 yards hard quarter away. And man, I thought I made a good shot, and arrow just went right through, and I hit him real low. And that's the worst, man. It just makes you think, man, what did I do wrong? But at the same time, you learn from it and just really be a little more patient with the angle of the deer, and just make sure you're really dialed in with yardages. When I made the move to I've got an XL, and it's a 3-pin fixed, but it's the whole housing will slide down on a tape, and so I did that because, man, in Illinois it is hard to just get something to stop, and just it was an exception this year. The biggest deer I've ever killed in my life. Literally, just it was 35 yards, and it just was perfectly broadside, and just was eating clover, and it just was just stopped. I mean, real simple. Had plenty of time. Got your heart rate settled, but typically that's not like that in Illinois. So that's why I went with that 3-pin fix, so I can, if I have to shoot quick, got it 20, 30, 40. But then my top pin, I can slide from anywhere from 20 all the way to as far as I want to shoot it. And I really like that setup. I'd been a 5-pin fixed fan. That's what I was hunting with in Texas, and it's almost just low light. It's got a lot going on in that sight picture.
There's way too much going in, because I had one too. I had a Spot Hog 5-pin fixed, and I loved it because it had a really big scope on it, you know, but you have a lot going on. It blocks some of your sight window, and especially during low light, if just enough light, or if you have the, you know, the light for it, you light it up, and there's all sorts of cool stuff going on in there. So I went to a 2-pin slider, and that was decent, but I went away from that and went to back to a single pin slider from HHA, which I really like. Scope seems to be just the right size for me. Again, this is one of those things where you might like a Chevy truck or a Ford truck, and I like something different. But if it works for you, you're going to shoot.
Absolutely. What about peep size?
I'd be wrong if I told you what size I'm working with there, but
the one I went to is smaller than the one I had.
You had a pretty big one.
That tripped me up for a minute. I was like, you had to really be a lot more. So like, I'm bad with like first person shooter games for this reason too. Like, I don't know how these guys just land and pull the trigger and get headshots right away. I gotta it's gotta be perfect for me to be settled and then go. So that smaller peep sight I was like struggling with compared to what I had previously. But now that I'm used to it, you just have to acclimate a little bit. So I'm shooting the HHA Tetra with that tape where you spin it. So
I
had a 3-pin sight. I am such an idiot that I'm like, oh my God, I can't remember which one's the which one's the right range. So then I would panic, and then I wouldn't shoot because I was like, I don't know what range I'm at. So that I had to stop doing that. And now now I have a rangefinder. I range everything, and I set my pin at where I expect the deer to be within a certain range. So I kind of know what I'm doing. And I obsessively do that for about 10 minutes when I get in the tree now and lock it into memory. I'm like, this is 15, this is 20, this is 15, this is 30. You know?
I love doing that, getting a game plan, and even looking, you know, when I get in a tree, I always put my bow, you know, where I think I'm going to see the deer. So I'm not reaching, you know, I'm not reaching across the tree, or, you know, if I think he's going to come out here, it's just a simple lift and shoot. Or if I think he's going to come out there, it might be shoulder turn, lift and shoot. And just little things you learn by busting deer. You know, the first year I shot in South Carolina, it was 120-inch buck, which is big in South Carolina. They just don't get big. And I had such a learning experience there because I had 2 does come in right behind me, and they knew something wasn't right. They smelled something. They didn't bust me, but I could just feel them watching me, and I couldn't do anything. And this buck's just right, you know, 15, 20 yards away, perfect. And I just couldn't do anything. I had to sit there. And finally, I could just feel them moving, and I was able to just out of the corner of my eye see them move on and get it done. But for every one of those, there's the learning experience is something you never even see. Probably busting deer. And people always make the comment with new technology, well, I was able to do it 20 years ago. Why do I need the new thing? But I would argue that it's not what you shot, it's what you didn't even see. With some of the camo and some of the scent protection and some of the I really think the ozonics works, but still, if you're not playing wind, you're in trouble. But just some of the new technology, and I really think that, yeah, you were always able to kill deer, but really, what could you have killed back then that you didn't, that made it under the radar because you never saw you before you even put eyes on him.
Sure.
Yeah, that's logical. And you're right about playing the wind. I know some folks that would argue that scent control is everything. And they've got track records to show that is good for them, but I'm not that good. And I think when I learned more about understanding wind in a relation to where deer are bedding, once you start to think through some of that and you get those guesses right, or those educated guesses right based on intel that you're collecting during the off season, it'll change things for you if you haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah, and I think you got to weigh the risk too a little bit.
That's
You
true.
always got a risk.
I mean, it might work out, but is it really, with some of this technology, I mean, you might slip under the radar, it might work. But at the same time, if you're hunting a bad wind, you're going to offer some sort of knowledge to some deer. And you just hope it's not the deer you're after. And so if it's a marginal wind and you can be patient, I really think that strategy is going to pay off in the long run.
Yep. Yeah. And then, morning hunt versus evening hunt. Do you know the land or not? So
Yeah.
I don't think we do any morning hunts with bow.
No.
Rut is the only time I do. I mean, we don't, most of the time, it's just because you're bumping deer you don't even know about.
Right.
Especially up in the Midwest with snow on the ground, getting in there loud.
Snow or a dry fall like we had, all the leaf litter that you walk across. I mean, it's like walking on cornflakes. You'll never get in there quietly.
Well, in the morning they're coming from feeding to bedding, and then
or they're already in there.
Right. So you just don't. In the evening, there's a better chance that that they're coming from bedding to food, so you can strategize a little bit differently based on wind and all that. So, God, I think I called Greg. We were talking like several times a day. Whether the wind just shifted, we're gonna have a shift this tomorrow at this time. We got to be out there. This is the spot to hunt. We were like, I've yet to have had a hunting buddy as close as Greg up until this past season. I think I probably sort of drive you a little crazy.
Nah, you're fine.
That's awesome.
My wife's like, who are you talking to, Greg? I'm like, yeah, who the hell am I gonna be talking to? You see the weather report? Like, come on.
We're going hunting in 2 months. We got to get it planned out now.
Right. Right.
Yeah. No, it's
bucket list hunt.
Oh gosh, well, we were going to do one this year, but new baby disrupted that. As we talked about last podcast. First of all, everyone that knows me knows I can't do math at all. Looks like I'm passing the kidney stone, but that proved to be true because of the timing of the pregnancy.
Can't do math. Doesn't know what time a baby could be coming. Maybe there was alcohol involved there. We don't know.
I don't know. It's usually the same time every year. Our kids are all September babies.
You got to bring in the new year, right?
Yeah, that's
Christmas, whatever.
Something's
happening. That's not too kind for elk season.
No,
not at all. So
at least this year we're not going to do it because I just can't justify a new baby that's going to be born at the beginning of September with 2 other little ones. That's an exciting time in life. I got to be here for that. I'm not going to gallivant around, but that is the intention. At least that for me, I think the scenery is probably just as important as the animal. So I everything I've heard about elk. So before you jump down, we started talking about turkey hunting. It's super interactive. I can't speak from experience. I can only speak through what Greg has to say about it and everyone else. But you tack on the whitetail side of things. They're less interactive, but they're a big game. And it seems like elk are the perfect combination of this interactive big game that you can hunt in pristine country, and that's it for me. Like that's what I want to do. I haven't done it yet, and we're gonna do a DIY. Might be the 2 of us, might be up to 4 of us, depending who we can get to go on a crazy adventure with us. But it's all about the adventure for me. That's what I'm after. And I don't know, Greg, I think mule deer, elk,
I've always wanted to take a mule deer, but for this year, rather than going elk hunting, I allocated funds to go to Illinois and hunt public land whitetails. So that's what I'm going to do.
Nice. What part are you going to?
It'll be the northern part.
Nice.
Yeah.
You don't want to tell us what county, huh?
No,
You don't wanna
no,
give it
I'm
away?
not sharing that info. Not publicly
You're gonna
anyway.
drive the Subaru there and put a bunch of hiking stickers on the back.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Now, me and a buddy and a couple of his friends, his dad went down last weekend. In fact,
Was it last weekend?
no, it was a weekend before, right after I got back from Florida. But we went down there and I put on 8 miles in I don't know, not quite a full day, but in the rain, and did some scouting, found a deadhead, found a few sheds, found a lot of good sign, and we kind of have a good idea where most of the hunter sign is and where it's coming from and going to, and we got part of a game plan. But at the end of the day, when we all mobile hunt, we could find something else. It could be shiny thing syndrome. We might find a huge rub line that opened up because, the crops have rotated and things are different this year. And you're going to find that with your property too, that movement will be kind of the same, but it'll vary a little bit every time you rotate those crops. So looking forward to it. It's more hilly country, river bottom stuff. It'll be a fun hunt. I'm looking forward to it. And it's bow only. So
That's awesome. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, how about you? I mean, you've done an elk hunt. It sounds like
I've done one elk hunt. It never worked with football, but I've done one. I've got a ton of just building preference points all over. Really
Cool.
trying to get drawn for something. And honestly though, man, I am obsessed with deer. I love it, and I'm just with my 2 boys. I just cannot wait to really teach them and get out in the woods with them. And that would be hands down. Even my dad too. My dad, he always enabled me to do whatever I wanted to do. Never was a big hunter, but always took me wherever I wanted to go. And he hunted a little bit, but he's the type of guy that whatever he does, he gets really good. He started shooting a bow a year ago, and he's already won a 3D tournament.
Sweet.
And it's just like he gets really good. And so he's getting the itch a little bit. He shot an 8-point on his first ever bow hunt on his property in Texas. So he's a little spoiled, but I'm going to get him up in Illinois. And I told him I was going to put him in Papaw's gar hole at the front of the property and let him do some doe maintenance and not blow off any good deer. But
and that's a good thing too. Especially if you don't have a lot of experience shooting deer, go in and shoot does. There's nothing wrong with it. The meat's excellent, and you're going to learn a lot just from shooting does, how they move, how they spook, everything. And
right. And man, some of those old does will blow you better than anything, man.
My buddy, I've quoted him several times on the show. My buddy Jared down in Arkansas says, whatever gets your piss hot, shoot that. And they'll get your piss pretty hot. You get that heart pumping. It doesn't matter. For me, at least, a deer is a deer is a deer. Horns or not, I think I'm just as jacked every time. At least the first kind of, the first glimpse of a deer, I'm like, oh, they exist. And I get all jacked up and weird. And then it takes me a second to get past my nerves. Weird. But, I see a big one. I don't even know what to do.
That first hunt of the new season, it's just unbelievable.
It gets you. It's exciting.
But yeah, I mean, I would love to mule deer hunt too. I've never done that, but I think that'd be fun. My in-laws are from way west Texas, and he grew up hunting New Mexico, and that's how I joke with my wife. That's how I knew I wanted to marry her when I walked in their house and just saw a big spread of mule deer and elk all over the walls.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that would be ideal. And I think just learning too, like you said, it being really similar to turkey hunting, but mixing in deer. And they're such a big animal, and it's just we it was a little slow for our hunt. I passed a decent bull on the first day, but I'd love to do a little more of the Western stuff as well. And I think I think it'd be extremely challenging in a completely different way. And I really have Don and some of the other guys I've met through Field Ethos that do a ton of Alan Bolin, do a ton of the bow hunting stuff in extreme conditions in the Western style. It's completely different, and I really respect the difficulty. because you really have to go after and stalk, and it's just the opposite of deer hunting. To me, you have to outsmart a deer, and you're really dealt a hand, and you have to manage a bunch of different um, factors that are really out of your control, and you just have to be patient. But with some of the other stuff, it's really about how can we outsmart and game plan and glass from afar. Glass is a lot of fun too. Just really fine tuning those skills, and it's just completely different. So very exciting to do that style of hunting as well.
Yeah, I like at least in my mind's eye, I love the physical challenge along with the mental of it, bringing both those together. Whitetail hunting, there's some physical, but not like climbing a mountain and packing an animal that size out or anything like that. And I just like pushing yourself to limits. That's to me what becomes indelible. Those are the things you never forget ever.
Yeah.
And they suck shit when you're doing it. You're like, what did I get myself into? I want all of those situations where I'm suffering greatly, because I know that on the backside of it is a memory I'll never forget. So, what I didn't do is I didn't plant the seed with you. I like to ask everybody what their most memorable hunt is. If you have one that you'd like to share, I'd love to hear it.
My most memorable hunt was this past year. I shot my first Boone and Crockett with a bow. And it was honestly because I've really hunted so hard and so long. And so I would argue with you a little bit about whitetail, because I think when you're really going after a world-class animal, it really changes the difficulty and the dynamic of a whitetail hunt. So yeah, if you're just hunting, any deer, I think it's fairly simple to get it done. But when you're hunting an animal like that, that's so smart, and they're so rare and so few and far between, it really takes a game plan, and that's really what I love about it, I think. And that's what it finally came to fruition. I mean, I'd made bad shots, and it was a long process. I'd been hunting for 6 or 7 years in Illinois without with the goal of getting a Boone and Crockett, and it finally came together this last year. But my most memorable outdoor experience would be a fishing trip in Arkansas. My grandpa, my dad, and myself. And I still remember that because I was really close to my grandpa growing up. My dad was gone quite a bit. And so just being able to have that memory with all three of them was just really, really special. And I really want to get my dad, really involved in the hunting so he can enjoy his grandsons and make some of those memories, or have my boys make some of those memories like I was able to make with my grandpa.
That's special. That's the kind of stuff, man. That's that like you said in the beginning about, the vision behind Field Ethos and living the life and kind of having it be kind of more intrinsic. That's a big deal. That's a big part of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I think we're similar in that regard to some degree, for sure. That's cool. What is it? Are there any other guys when you played ball that hunt too? Did you ever find any camaraderie tangentially to football?
So I really did not for the first part of my career at all. Here and there, guys liked it, but I mean, I love it. And so any spare time, especially before kids, I mean, I've devoted a lot of time to doing anything I could in the outdoors. And I finally got Luke Kuechly involved in it, and he took a big liking, and now he's obsessed with it nearly as much as I am. And so he's one. Who else? There's a few other guys here and there. Marcus Cannon played right tackle for the Patriots for a long time, won 3 Super Bowls. He was in my wedding, and he just got traded to the Texans. He's a huge outdoorsman, not so much with the bow, but he loves to hunt anything. I lived with him in college, and when I first moved into the house, I went outside in the backyard, and there's a big pecan tree, and there's like 60 little orange dots up in the tree. And I'm like, what is that? And he had a blowgun and had shot a squirrel, and it was in the oven. Oh man. You gotta remember, I grew up in Texas. We're a little different out there.
Yeah, Texas seems like a fun state.
I got to tell you, Wisconsinites aren't much different. So
yeah,
I got stories of buddies shooting, an arrow up in the sky and trying to dodge the arrow. Like, what the f you doing, guys?
Arrow roulette. Everybody's experimented. At least
Everybody.
once.
That's what happens here. Yeah, really.
I would recommend a very sharp broadhead.
Yeah. At least you get a pass through that way.
Jesus. Yeah, I've heard of buddies doing stuff. And the cow tipping thing. I know a few folks that have
No.
done it. I've never done it, but I know folks that have. And we really do eat a ton of cheese up here. That's very real. That's not a myth or a rumor. Like my father-in-law actually makes his own cheese now, and so he started making his own cheese curds. And if you know anything about Wisconsin, the cheese curds that are fresh make your teeth. It squeaks when you chew it. So I have those on like demand now, which is a problem for my weight. I'm like consuming gratuitous amounts of cheese right now. It's so good.
That's awesome, man. I really enjoyed playing. I played at Lambeau twice.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool.
Yeah, that's a very awesome place. My wife actually came to that game.
It's very
It
traditional.
meant a lot for me to get to play there. Very cool stadium. The grass is so thick. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a very iconic and neat place.
Very cool.
A lot of
very cool feel.
A lot of history, a lot of like. The only time I was there is honestly, then I ended up getting too drunk to actually remember most of it. I remember getting back to work like the following Monday or whatever, and they're like, "Weren't you cold? Did you get like all wet?" I was like, "What?" Like it rained. I was like, "Oh, I must have been." And I don't know. I couldn't tell you. You know, we went
Did
pretty
you
hard.
shave it or paint it?
Neither. I don't know. But it was cool. They're so crowded that you're huddled pretty close together, which sounds like cringeworthy nowadays with everything that's been going on. But you know, it was a really fun experience from what I remember.
Yeah, there's a lot of soul there.
That's true.
You know, we did. Speaking of crowds, we had auctioned off a hunt with Don Jr. and myself and Luke and a couple other guys, the whole team in South Texas. It was so fun to actually get to attend an event with people. And we went down to South Carolina, and it was a veterans fundraiser. And just to go down there, and the governor spoke, and just really get back and have a feel of normalcy for just a little bit. It's been a long, long journey.
It has.
Yeah.
I think we're hopefully turning a corner here. But you know, speaking of veteran hunts, you know, our buddy Bill over at Spartan Forge, they sponsor the live call and then the live video stuff. And in off season, we're not getting a lot of that activity here on our show, but he's putting a pretty big veteran hunt together for November of this year. That might be worth an introduction because he's got some big things going on over there.
Nice, very fun.
Yeah, if you guys are open to an intro, I can set that up. But
yeah, man, we did a lot of stuff with military because my coach with the Panthers for so long, Ron Rivera, was so active with being a military family, and so I really love doing for those guys because they do so much for us, man. It's just incredible the sacrifice they make for theirself, their family, and just so we can do what we love is just incredible.
Certainly is.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Well, we appreciate you taking time to be on the show with us tonight.
Yeah,
Sorry,
guys, I've enjoyed it.
Food, but you know, I'll end the live stream here. You know, before I do though, why don't you tell folks where they can find Field Ethos and how to engage with that brand, so people know where to get that content? Because your guys' podcast currently, I know you see you have some big things coming, but as it stands, it's a really polished podcast, and you've said it well when you said that like there's people from different camps of the hunting space and the outdoor space. It really rounds it out and broadens the horizon. You know, we're a whitetail shop over here by and large, and we're maybe trying to broach elk and stuff, but we stay in our lane pretty tightly with some of that stuff. You're a little bit more broader, so there's a lot more types of content to consume. I think it's great.
Yeah, you know, our goal is to bring different people in throughout different verticals in the industry to really highlight what people love, and you know, whether it's Don and Dave with the spear fishing and the adventure side of things, or the big game stuff, or bird hunting, ducks, turkey, the heartland, you know, just bow hunting with Alan all over the world. Alan Bolin has shot more. He joined our team a couple of months ago, and he's harvested more animals, Boone and Crockett, than anybody in the world, and it's not even close. And he's an incredible follow on Instagram. But he's got a lot he's helped us a lot on the archery side of things, and then myself with the whitetail side of things and just the outdoors in general. I've been working a little bit on a land improvement project, done a little bit differently than you've seen. So that'll be coming down the pipe. But yeah, really just being able to cater to a lot of people and then offering them the ability to have a voice as well, and really branch out into and doing it in a way that's not really afraid of what people are gonna think or say, because we're really trying to be their voice. And working with some of the big brands that we're already working with, it's really a breath of fresh air, and their execs really enjoy what we're doing, because they're saying, or we're saying, some of the stuff maybe that they can't and they want to. And as we really jumpstart this content, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to be a part of and just to see, because the video side of stuff and joining our email list is pretty fun read. Short reads, people don't have an hour to spend reading an article. 3 to 5 minutes, boom, get it in your inbox and check it out. And it's not just slam full of ads. It's just really trying to get somebody what they want to see in a very visually appealing fashion.
That's awesome. No, like I said, the polish is there. The content is there. It's good. I think, I don't know, between the two of us, we consumed quite a few of the podcasts the last couple of days in preparation to just make sure we understood the ethos, right?
Yeah, man. And with Don really taking that and running with that, he's going to be at the forefront of our podcast. I think it's only gonna grow from there. We've started small, and it's really, we're about to jumpstart it with more production and really getting a library of stuff that's fun to listen to.
That's cool. Well, thanks again for being here tonight. I'm going to end the live broadcast. We'll hang out with you for just a minute and debrief. And as everyone knows, we produce the same night that we record. So this will be live in podcast land later this evening.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.